Caleb Turner did not mean to change his life that afternoon. He was just driving home. The sun was high over Route 9, pressing heat down on the Oklahoma road until it shimmered like water. He had the windows half open because the air conditioner in his old truck only worked when it felt like it. The radio was low. His mind was somewhere else. That was when he saw her. At first, he thought it was a trick of the light, a small shape in the road, wavering in the heat. But as he got closer, the shape turned into a little girl, no more than 5, barefoot, walking straight down the middle of the highway like she had nowhere else to go. He slowed without thinking. Her dress was torn. The fabric looked expensive, but it hung on her like it didn't belong there anymore. One hand held a stuffed teddy bear so tightly it seemed stitched to her fingers. Her hair clung to her cheeks with sweat. And her feet. Even from the truck, he could see the red against the gray road. Bleeding. Caleb's hands tightened on the steering wheel. He had been a soldier once. He had learned to read danger. He had learned when to step in and when to stay back. After Afghanistan. After losing his wife, Sarah. After learning that some days, survival was the only thing you could manage. But this wasn't war. This was a child. Alone. He pressed the brake. The truck shuddered to a stop in a cloud of dust. For a few seconds he just sat there, the engine ticking. The world quiet except for the hum of summer wind through prairie grass. He told himself there could be an explanation, a house nearby, a parent looking for her, something that made sense. But there was nothing. No homes, no cars, just open land and sky. He opened the door and stepped into the heat. "Hey there, sweetheart," he called gently. She turned toward him slowly. Her face was streaked with dirt and dried tears. There was something in her eyes that did not belong on a child's face. Not fear exactly, not just fear. Distance, like she had already seen too much. "I can't find her," she whispered. Her voice was dry, cracked. "Can't find who?" he asked, walking a little closer but not too close. "My mama." The words seemed to take everything she had. Caleb crouched down so he would not tower over her. He remembered those nights when Owen woke up from bad dreams. How small his son looked in the dark. How much tone mattered. "That's real scary," Caleb said softly, "not knowing where your mama is." She nodded, clutching the teddy bear tighter. "What's your name?" he asked. "Mia." "Mia," he repeated. "That's a beautiful name." He stayed where he was, let her decide. "How about we get you out of this heat first? My truck's got some cool air in it. We can sit down. Then we'll figure out how to find your mama." She hesitated. He could see the cuts on her feet now. Gravel pressed into skin. Tiny pieces of the road stuck where they didn't belong. "How far did you walk?" he asked quietly. "I don't know," she said. "I waited and waited." Her voice broke. Caleb stood slowly and crossed the last few steps between them. He lifted her carefully like she might break. She stiffened for just a second. Then she melted into him, her small arms wrapped around his neck, her face pressed into his oil-stained shirt. And she began to cry in a way that sounded older than 5 years. "I got you," he said, holding her close. "You're safe now." He didn't know her last name, didn't know who her family was, didn't know that by stopping his truck he had stepped into something bigger than anything he had ever imagined. He only knew one thing. No child should be walking alone on a highway. And sometimes you don't need to understand the whole story. You just need to stop. By the time they reached town, Mia was asleep. She had cried herself quiet in the passenger seat, wrapped in the old gray blanket Caleb kept behind the truck seat. Her head leaned against the window. The teddy bear rested against her chest like it was the only steady thing left in her world. Caleb drove slower than usual. Every time the truck hit a bump, he glanced over to make sure she hadn't woken up. He could still see the cuts on her feet in his mind, still hear the thin edge in her voice when she said she couldn't find her mama. Redemption Falls came into view the way it always did. The faded water tower, Lou's Diner with its flickering sign, the Baptist church with white paint peeling at the corners. It was not a town that made headlines. It was the kind of place people passed through. He drove straight to the sheriff's office. Sheriff Wade Hutchins looked up from his desk when Caleb walked in carrying the sleeping child. Wade's eyes moved from Caleb's face to Mia's bare, bandaged feet. "Where'd you find her?" Wade asked quietly. "Route 9, 15 miles out." Wade stood up right away. They laid Mia gently on the old couch in the corner. She stirred, but didn't wake. Deputy Chen brought a bottle of water and a small pack of crackers, setting them nearby just in case. Wade ran her name through every system he could think of. No missing child report in Oklahoma. None in Texas, Kansas, Arkansas. No Amber Alert. No one looking for a 5-year-old girl named Mia Cross. The silence in the room grew heavy. When Mia finally woke, she looked around in confusion. For a second, panic flashed across her face. Then she saw Caleb standing a few feet away. "You're still here," she said. "Still here," he answered. Deputy Chen crouched in front of her. "Can you tell us where you live, honey?" "The big house," Mia said, "with the fountain." "What city?" "I don't know." "Do you know your mama's phone number?" Mia recited one with a New York area code. Wade dialed it, disconnected. Hours passed. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Mia grew quieter with each question. She curled into herself on the couch, refusing snacks, staring at the door like she expected someone to walk through it. Social services wouldn't arrive until morning. "There's a foster placement in Stillwater," Wade said, pulling Caleb aside. "It's temporary, just protocol." Caleb looked at Mia. She looked so small on that couch. "Please," she said suddenly, her voice barely holding together, "don't leave me here." "That did it?" Caleb turned back to Wade. "Let me take her home tonight." Wade sighed. "That's not exactly how this works." "You know me," Caleb said. "You know Owen. She'll have a bed, a meal, somewhere quiet to sleep." Wade studied him for a long moment. "Phone stays on," Wade said finally. "And if I call, you bring her back, no arguments." "Yes." 7 minutes later, Caleb pulled into his driveway. Owen was already on the porch, bouncing with questions. But when he saw Mia's face, he stopped. "Hi," Owen said gently. "Hi," Mia whispered. "I have 17 dinosaurs," Owen told her, like that was the most important information in the world. For the first time since Caleb had seen her on the highway, Mia's shoulders loosened just a little. Inside, the house smelled like chicken and rice Mrs. Rodriguez had left in the slow cooker. It wasn't fancy. The paint peeled in places. The couch sagged in the middle. But it was warm, and it was safe. That night, when Caleb tucked them in, Owen on a pile of blankets on the floor and Mia in the twin bed, he stood in the doorway longer than usual. Tomorrow would bring questions. Tonight, she was just a child who needed sleep, and in that small house on Maple Street, that was enough. Caleb did not sleep that night. He sat at the kitchen table long after the house had gone quiet. The clock ticked. The refrigerator hummed, the kind of small sounds that usually meant peace. But his phone would not stop buzzing. Missed calls from numbers he did not recognize. Voicemails piling up. A text from Wade that simply said, "Call me, now." Caleb stepped onto the porch so he wouldn't wake the kids and dialed. Wade answered on the first ring. "Tell me you're home," Wade said. "I'm home. Mia's asleep. What's going on?" There was a pause. The kind that stretches longer than it should. "She's not just some lost kid, Caleb." "What do you mean?" "Mia Cross. Her mother is Evelyn Cross, Cross Technologies." Caleb leaned back against the porch railing. The name meant nothing to him. "She's worth billions," Wade continued. "National news, private jets, security teams, the whole thing." Caleb let out a short breath. "That doesn't change anything." "It does when the FBI is involved." The night felt colder suddenly. She disappeared 4 days ago from a hotel in Dallas. They thought it was a kidnapping. Her nanny's car was found burned outside Fort Worth yesterday. Caleb's grip tightened on the phone. "The nanny's dead, Caleb." The words hung there. He thought about Mia's small voice describing hiding in tall grass, waiting, walking alone. "She was left out there," Caleb said quietly. "Looks like it." Headlights turned onto Maple Street, not one set. 3 black SUVs rolled slowly toward his house. Wade's patrol car behind them. Caleb's heart pounded once, hard. "Wade?" he said, still watching the lights approach. "They're here." "Yeah," Wade replied. "And her mother's in one of those vehicles." Caleb went inside before the knock came. Mia was standing at the edge of the hallway, barefoot again, teddy bear in her arms. "I heard cars," she said. "It's okay," he told her softly. The knock was gentle, not demanding, just firm. Caleb opened the door. The woman standing on his porch did not look like someone who ruled a company worth billions. She wore jeans, a plain shirt, her hair pulled back, her face pale from too many sleepless nights. But her eyes, the same blue as Mia's. "Mr. Turner," she said, her voice steady but thin. "My name is Evelyn Cross." Mia stepped forward before Caleb could answer. "Mama?" The word broke open, the quiet like a crack of thunder. Evelyn dropped to her knees. Mia ran into her arms, and Caleb stood there, watching a mother hold her child like she had pulled her back from the edge of something dark. In that moment, wealth did not matter. Power did not matter, only the way Evelyn rocked back and forth, whispering, "I've got you. I've got you. I've got you." Caleb stepped aside, giving them space. He did not know yet that this reunion would not be the end of the story. It would be the beginning. They stayed on the living room floor for a long time. Evelyn did not let go. She kept her arms wrapped around Mia like someone afraid the world might try to take her again. Mia clung just as tightly, her small fingers twisted into her mother's shirt. Caleb stepped back toward the kitchen, giving them room. Owen stood near the stairs, watching quietly. "Is that her mom?" he whispered. "Yeah, buddy," Caleb said. "Good," Owen nodded. "She was real sad without her." Those simple words seemed to steady the room. After a while, Evelyn looked up. Her eyes were red but clear. She stood slowly, keeping one hand on Mia's shoulder. "You're Mr. Turner," she said. "Caleb's fine." She looked around the house. The worn couch, the crayon drawings on the refrigerator, the faded rug under her feet. "My daughter told me what you did," she said. "How you found her, how you brought her home." "She needed help," Caleb replied. "That's all." Evelyn studied him for a moment, as if trying to measure something she could not quite name. "You didn't know who she was," she said. "No. And you still stopped." Caleb shrugged lightly. "I saw a kid alone on the road." Evelyn's mouth trembled for just a second before she steadied it. Behind her, 2 men in suits stood near the doorway, quiet but alert. The sheriff gave Caleb a small nod from outside. "We'll need statements in the morning," one of the agents said. "For now, Miss Cross, we recommend a hospital." Mia stiffened. "No hospital," she whispered. Evelyn knelt again and cupped her daughter's face. "Okay," she said gently. "No hospital tonight, we'll go home first." Mia's shoulders loosened. Caleb watched the way Evelyn listened to her child, not as a business leader, not as someone used to giving orders, just as a mother. When it was time to leave, Mia hesitated. She looked at Owen. "I don't want to say goodbye," she said softly. Owen shifted his weight, trying to be brave about it. "We can write letters," he offered. "Or you can visit. My friend Pete has horses." Mia managed a small smile. She walked back to Caleb. "Thank you for finding me," she whispered. He bent down so he was eye level with her. "You were the brave one," he said. "You kept going." She wrapped her arms around his neck one more time, then let go. Evelyn met his eyes before stepping outside. "Thank you," she said again. But this time it carried more than gratitude. It carried something heavier, something thoughtful. The SUVs pulled away slowly. Maple Street went quiet again. Caleb stood on the porch long after the red lights disappeared. Inside, Owen tugged at his sleeve. "Dad?" "Yeah, buddy?" "Is she going to be okay now?" Caleb looked up at the sky, wide and dark above Redemption Falls. "She's with her mama," he said. But even as he said it, he felt something shift inside him, like this wasn't finished. Like that little girl walking barefoot on Route 9 had carried more than just fear with her. She had carried a story that wasn't done yet. Caleb thought that would be the end of it. A strange, heavy day that would settle into memory. Something he would tell Owen about years from now. A reminder that sometimes you just stop and help. But the next morning his phone rang before sunrise. It was Wade. "She's not leaving town yet," Wade said. "Who?" "Mia's mother. There's more to this." Caleb sat up in bed. "More how?" "The nanny who took Mia? She was found dead. Burned car outside Fort Worth. FBI confirmed it." Caleb closed his eyes. "So it wasn't just a mistake," he said quietly. "No," Wade replied. "It was deliberate." Later that afternoon, Evelyn knocked on Caleb's door alone. No SUVs, no suits, just her. Owen was at school. The house felt smaller somehow. "She wanted to see you," Evelyn said, standing on the porch. "Before we leave." Caleb stepped aside to let her in. Mia waited in the car. "She hasn't slept well," Evelyn continued. "Keeps waking up to make sure I'm still there." Caleb nodded. "That kind of fear doesn't fade quick." Evelyn studied him. "Neither does grief," she said softly. The words hung between them. She walked slowly through the living room, her fingers brushing the back of a chair, the edge of the kitchen table. She stopped in front of the refrigerator. "Is that your wife?" she asked, pointing to a photo. "Sarah," Caleb said. "She passed 4 years ago." Evelyn nodded. "I'm sorry." They stood in silence for a moment. "I didn't come just to say thank you again," she said finally. "I came because Mia won't stop talking about you." Caleb blinked. "About me?" "She says you weren't scared, that you didn't treat her like a problem, just like a kid." Caleb leaned back against the counter. "She is a kid." Evelyn gave a small, tired smile. "You'd be surprised how many people see something else when they look at her. They see my name, my money, what they might gain." She looked at him carefully. "You didn't?" "No," Caleb said simply. Outside, the car door opened. Mia ran up the walkway before her mother could call after her. She burst through the front door like she had always belonged there. "Hi," she said, slightly out of breath. "Hi," Caleb answered. She held out something in her hand. It was a small purple crayon drawing. 4 stick figures, a house, 2 horses. "This is you and Owen," she said, pointing. "And me, and Mama." Caleb felt his chest tighten. "That's a real good drawing," he said gently. Evelyn watched from the doorway, and in that quiet moment, something shifted again. Not dramatic, not loud, just the soft beginning of something neither of them had planned. Something that did not end when the SUVs drove away. Something that had only just begun. They sat at the kitchen table together, Mia between them, swinging her legs under the chair like she had the first night she ate there. The purple drawing lay flat in front of Caleb, its crayon lines pressed deep into the paper. "I want to stay," Mia said suddenly. Evelyn reached for her hand. "Sweetheart, we talked about this." "I know," Mia said, her voice smaller now. "But it feels safe here." The word safe settled heavy in the room. Caleb felt it too. Redemption Falls was not impressive. It was not powerful. It did not have fountains or hotel ballrooms or boardrooms with glass walls. But it had quiet. It had neighbors who knew your name. It had porches and open sky and the kind of stillness that let children sleep through the night. Evelyn looked around the kitchen again, at the worn cabinets, at the crayon drawing still taped to the fridge from when Owen was 4. "This is what she's been missing," she said softly. "Normal." Caleb poured coffee for himself, offered some to her. She nodded. "I built a life that's very loud," Evelyn continued. "Security teams, meetings, travel, always moving." "And you're tired," Caleb said. She looked at him, surprised. "Yes." They let the silence sit for a moment. "I don't know how to explain this," Evelyn said carefully. "But when Mia talks about that night, she talks about you like you were steady, like nothing about you was complicated." "I'm pretty simple," Caleb replied. She smiled faintly. "No, you're grounded. There's a difference." Outside, Mia wandered toward the porch steps, humming to herself, the teddy bear tucked under her arm. Evelyn watched her through the window. "I almost lost her," she said quietly. "Not just physically. I almost lost her trust. If she grows up believing the world is only sharp and cold, that's on me." Caleb leaned his elbows on the table. "The world can be sharp," he said, "but it can be kind too." She saw both. Evelyn looked back at him. "And you're part of the kind." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The afternoon light stretched long across the kitchen floor. Dust floated in the air like slow-moving stars. "I don't want her to forget this place," Evelyn said. "Or you, or Owen." "She won't," Caleb answered, but he knew what she meant. Some moments pass, others change the direction of everything. Mia ran back inside then. "Can we come back?" she asked, breathless. Evelyn hesitated. Caleb did not. "Yes," he said gently. "You can always come back." Evelyn's eyes met his, and in that look there was something new. Not just gratitude, not just relief, possibility. 2 weeks passed. Caleb told himself that was enough time for everything to settle back into normal. The shop was busy. Owen had school. The house returned to its steady rhythm. But some mornings, he found himself glancing toward the road without meaning to. The call came on a Tuesday. "Caleb Turner?" the voice asked. "Yes. My name is David Chen. I work with Evelyn Cross. She'd like to meet with you, in person." Caleb wiped grease from his hands with an old rag. "About what?" "There's something she wants to build," David said, "and she thinks you're the right person to help her do it." 3 days later, Evelyn stood in his driveway.